Hello everyone, welcome back to another art time lapse. This one is called Building a Better World. This piece was inspired originally by my children. They are very young and now starting to enjoy doing playing with more complex toys rather than just like cars and such. They're really into Legos and puzzles, and I love watching them play, how they can focus and try to play around with the idea of how things will fit and put together. And they are, I guess, our builders for tomorrow, how our they're going to shape how our world's going to be like and how we're going to live. And it's something that I'm playing around with for this piece. I've started off with some gray tone paper. I think the gray tone paper is a really nice contrast to just kind of white watercolor paper that I regularly use. This one's a mixed media paper, so it actually absorbs water quite well as opposed to just like regular gray tone paper. So here for gray tone paper, what I need to focus on is one, adding highlights, and two, adding shadows, which I really love because I am not a big fan of kind of doing the shades of midtones in between. So it's kind of like a nice stark contrast to what I usually do. Here I'm just adding on a little bit of gradient to this child's hair. And as always, if you like the content on this channel, I'll appreciate it very much if you would consider giving this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. It would really mean a lot. Thank you so much for considering. Okay, so now you can see I am adding a bit of highlights using some apricots mixed with some white color to the child's face. My idea is that this child is going to be building and shaping, can be like a city, and being the architect of our future. And that city, I'm gonna be using the color scheme similar to what you see for Lego, like the bright red, yellow, and like the blue, green primary colors to show that like there is a playfulness to this play with blocks and Lego like idea. But at the same time also showing that it's like a very real city with streets and windows and lamps and like sidewalks that this child is going to be building, because our children will be the architect of our future. So here again, I love playing with gray tone paper, so I'm just adding all the white highlights for where I suspect the building's going to be laid out. And if you've seen some of my other videos in the past, you know that I don't love sketching the outlines for where everything is going to be with like pencils or watercolor pencils. I just kind of like to jump right in with my paint. And for this, I've decided not to use any rulers, just kind of free painting it. The buildings may not be exactly straight or like perpendicular, but I think it's perfectly fine if there is a little bit of curve to it. I don't think it has to be perfect. I think the main thing is like conceptualizing and putting my thoughts into like a visual field and telling my story. Now, what I normally don't do is put my paintbrush right into the tube, or at least I don't do that anymore. I used to do that very often, and what I've learned over time is that like it really affects the integrity of the paint, and if you don't use up the paint fast enough, some of the paint will dry, and then you're gonna find that there's clumps in your paint if you consider to just dab your brush, especially if it's wet, into the paint tube itself, and it ends up creating this like really gritty artwork. So it's not very nice. The reason I'm doing it in this piece is because the tube is like about out. There isn't much paint left in it, so I'm just trying to take all the white out of it. But again, I'm adding highlights of like the white for how the cityscape is going to look like. If you've seen some of my other YouTube videos, you know that I've really been working hard to give a voice to my artwork, to explain the story, because I feel like so much of the artwork is not necessarily just the final piece, but the process and the story behind it, and I want to give a voice to my artwork, and that's why I've been adding commentary to my YouTube channel and my art time lapse, so you can understand the process of where I'm coming from as I'm painting this piece. I feel like I am very actually very bad at like explaining myself, especially in concisely in like just a few words. So I think this YouTube channel has been a nice channel for me to kind of just rant about my process. If you're willing to follow me on this journey and painting, and as I explain my technique but also my thought process. So here you can see I'm like sticking my paintbrush all the way into the tube to get the last bit of white paint. And you can see, like, even looking at my artwork, there are many different types of white shades, and that's because it's the same white tube. It's just the amount of water that I use that create this gradient. And also, one thing you should know about gouache is that giving it time to dry and then layering on the next layer of white or whatever color you choose also create different techniques that will surface on your artwork. So you can see I diluted the white down to a little bit to create the shades in the background, and now I'm using like the white paint straight out of the tube to create like very sharp contrasts and highlights for where the poles and the beams are. So this is a process that I really enjoy, like doing the highlights. But I know I have a tendency to go overboard and add too much highlight to my piece. So I really have to like make sure I dial back and can reconsider, and like every time now and then like just stop and look at the piece and reconsider if this is where I want to be. A lot of times I get so focused on the details and I just kind of go on a roll, and I don't stop to think myself until like an hour or two later I look back, I'm like, oh man, I think I went a little overboard and it's too late to go back. So here you've seen I've added the white for the highlights, which is perfect time to add on the color. Like I mentioned, I think I want this piece to convey the idea that our children are the architect of our future, and we really need to foster their creativity and like their sense of community, which I'm hoping my children will have as well. And I'm hoping that someday if my children are watching this YouTube video, they will also understand what I'm trying to convey through my artwork. So here I've mentioned I'm going to use some great, like really bright primary colors to reflect like the color blocks that you use for building blocks for when the children are at play when they're younger, whether it's Lego or other non-branded toys and puzzles. So that's why it has like a playful spin to it, even though you can clearly tell there's like the architecture with the roads, the bridges, and like the stairs, the crosswalk. So I'm gonna be adding some of these primary colors throughout, so it's more of a whimsical piece of a child at play. I hope you guys are enjoying the commentary so far. I haven't been getting too many comments on my YouTube videos if people like it or not, so I would love to hear from you directly. Maybe you guys would just prefer to watch our time lapse and just listen to some lovely jazz music in the background. That's perfectly fine with me too. But I would love to hear what you guys think about these commentaries I've been adding to the videos. Now I'm just using a Prismacolor pencil to kind of add in some finer details that I can't do with gouache itself. And I also think that gouache is great to pair with other multi-medium, because gouache when it dries is matte, so it's great for you to layer on different types of mediums and draw on top. Right now I'm really enjoying using this color pencil to add in the details of the bridge, the windows where they all stick out. I think I always really enjoy the process of like drawing architecture of like how my perfect house will be, or how like a room will look like for a imaginary character I've created. But to be honest, I honestly don't have the drive and patience to draw out these houses, because I feel like it takes a long time, and for me, I guess I don't have a lot of patience. A lot of times I just want like quick output from my artwork, and to do a piece like this where you have to draw all the staircase, making sure all the lines are clear, it's really hard for me. And despite my interest in this area, I just don't know if I have the drive to just work on art piece long term. to create these really fine, intricate architecture. I really admire people who can draw architecture and like buildings and like monuments and such. I don't have the patience for it, nor do I guess I'm not enough of a perfectionist, I would say. But I hope you enjoy this process of me building this piece together, inspired by my children, who are going to be the architect of our future. And I hope they will help build a better world, and we can lead them to discover themselves in a way that will foster that. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I'll see you next time in another Art Time Lives. Take care and stay creative. Bye for now.